Welcome back to our class of the 72 Name of God. And interesting enough, if you followed me in the last 6 weeks or the last 6 combination that correspond with Pisces, we happen to repeat them again because we just entered Thursday night, Friday actually, last Friday we entered a new month of Pisces, but this year it's Pisces 2, so second Pisces, and it seems like there are always questions whether to Pisces, why we need to, what's the purpose of being in a leap year. Interesting enough, like we can find different, whether it's scientific or halacha, Judaism cause for it, and which is we understand that the sun, the way the journey of the sun, or the cycle of the sun is 365 days of the year, right? But the moon cycle is 12 times 29.5 days, which is 354. And this corresponds with the Hebrew calendar or the lunar calendar, which means there are 11 days between 365 days of the sun to 354 days of the moon. There are 11 days gap. And the Hebrew calendar, Kabbalistic calendar, it's really progressing in a much rapid way from the Gregorian calendar. So therefore, if we look at we call it the halacha, or like that they want to have, for example, Passover, which is always come in the spring. There is a desire that Passover will always come in the spring because of this gap of 11 days. It's if we wouldn't have had a leap year, this year, for example, would have celebrated Passover in the winter. So like every leap year happens around 3 years or something like that. And in order to add 30 more days to the cycle, we need that so that Passover will always come in the spring. But this is like, again, the halacha part. But of course, we look at it Kabbalistically, and there's a reason for it. And there are different teachings why it happens. And when we talk about the sun and the moon, we know that in the 4th day, there was a creation of the moon and the sun. And there was a conflict and a fight between the moon was asking the creator, how can it be that 2 kings can rule the day? Right? We only have one driver to the car, so how can it be 2 kings to one day? So the creator said, okay, if this is what you desire, what are we going to do? It's like, I'm going to separate the kingdoms. So the moon will rule the night, the sun will rule the day. But the creator told both moon and the sun, there will come a day where we all know it as Gmar Tikun, or the end of redemption, where those 2 forces of the sun and the moon will unite and come together. And this will represent the harmony and unification we all strive to have as in our spiritual process. So therefore, every time we have a leap year, is a reminder for all of us, as a humanity as a whole, and in a private individual, that there will be always time that there will be a unification. The unification of the body of the soul, the unification between people, the unification between countries. It will come, and we don't want to wait till end of redemption. We don't want to wait, I don't know, thousands of years, hundreds of years. We don't want to wait for so long that this harmony will appear in our life. Therefore, we have a responsibility, and it starts with each one of us. And we have this month, this whole month of Pisces 2, with the support of the 72 names combinations, which I'll share with you starting today. For the next few classes, we'll talk about the 6 combination that really gives us so much of not just energy, but practical tools to tap into this final redemption connection. So we're starting today. Today we're starting with actually two combinations that correspond with this week. Aleph Yud Ayin and Chet Bet Vav. And when we look at Aleph Yud Ayin and Chet Bet Vav with the connection to Gemara Tikkun, so what is Gemara Tikkun? When we have this harmony, what is the feeling that we feel? And it really corresponds with this month, with the energy of this month, the month of happiness, or the connection, or the desire to connect with happiness. So let's talk a little bit about this, because we know there's a whole month of Pisces. We are able to tap into endless, infinite happiness, and it's really injected into the universe, and we have the ability to tap into this. So, and we all know that the person who is happy can be even happier, and the person that is not happy just can get happy. There's a verse that we learn from the Zohar of Be'alotcha, that verse 51, and if you have it with you, you can open the Zohar and read this. It's really the story about understanding that judgment, there are two types of tabernacle. There's the external tabernacle, the internal tabernacle. The judgment arrives from the external tabernacle, but the happiness arrives from within, from the internal tabernacle. And we understand, and Rav Breinrein was sharing with the Rav in one of the letters, that happiness really can remove judgment and all forces of death from our life. So in order to be happy, it's not just when we want just to feel good, right? When we happy, like happiness can really remove the judgment and all forces of darkness. And opposite, when we are sad, the sadness, when we are depressed, and sadness allowing judgment, darkness to come in. So there's a story about the student of the Baal Shem Tov that came and told him that he has so many judgment in his life. And the Baal Shem Tov told him, I really cannot help you with this situation, but you see this student that outside of this facility, you see him how he was dancing, the student was dancing. So I think that person who danced can give you really some tips of how to remove judgment from your life. So now we understand that when we want to be happy, it's not just really about feeling good, it's just really to remove those judgments from our life and all forces of darkness. So how we do that? So let's look at the first combination, Aleph Yud Ayin. In a previous session about it, if you can watch the replay to see what was the energy for that week when we spoke about. But I also mentioned, if we look at the interpretation, right, of the book, it's a great expectation. What happens when we expect from people or from ourselves so much or so little? It doesn't matter. Expectation, and our expectations do not match. What happened? Then disappointment, then all sort of feeling can come into a sadness and depression or frustration that the person didn't do what I was expecting them, or if I have disappointment and from myself that I didn't accomplish what I'm supposed to do, or I didn't make the to-do list, or I didn't accomplish the to-do list of today, right? With the power of the Aleph Yud Ayin, we can tap into this energy of happiness. So let's see how we can do that. One thing we need to understand is why people are becoming sad, why we are sad. One of the things that we learned, that the reason that cause for sadness are fears. Fears that, all sorts of fears actually, fear of death or fear of what will happen. There are two forces in the world. The force of the light and the darkness. And there's a force of happiness and there's a force of sadness in the world. what we really invest in more. Every time that we are acting in a selfish way, in a desire for the self alone way, if we have expectation for people, it's a desire for the self alone, because we expect that something will be received or be done for me or to me, rather really taking the responsibility on that. But every time we act like this, we connect automatically to the force of sadness. Yeah, I want to be happy, but sometimes sadness appears and it's so great and controlling our life and controlling our being. But we need to understand that this is only the result. It's the result. Like, we have thoughts, we have speaking, talking, we have action of desire for the self alone that I may have planted last month or 20 years ago. And we need to remember that every time that I choose to maybe hurt someone or hurt myself or behave with anger and making a certain action that involve ego, right? We are connecting ourselves to the power of sadness and those forces of darkness. And I'm connecting my essence to the essence of sadness. And I may not see it today, but I will see it next week, or I will see it in a month, or I'll see it in a year. Sadness controls us. And this is what the ego creates. So it doesn't matter how much the person wants to be happy. He can't, because the force of sadness controlled him. Our purpose, again, is not to be a good person. Our purpose is not to say, I don't want to get angry because it doesn't make me a good person. Because it's not. It's not worth it to me to be sad. Every time I'm sad, or every time I'm behaving with a desire for the self alone, it just brings more and more sadness to my life. Another part of it is that what happens when my soul is not happy is those moments that we are really staying in a situation where our soul is like poking from within and tell us, I don't want to be in that place. Because when a person is sad, his soul's telling him, you need to get change. You need to transform. You need to look inside and see what is there to do. The soul is telling us, you're not alive. You're not who you're supposed to be. You're not behaving according to your essence. So therefore, we need to remind ourselves with that. And as long as the sadness is greater, it's an indication for us that our transformation or the look within needs to be much greater in order to transform. We already know that each one of us has a purpose, and there's a process where we need to be who we're supposed to be. And it's really powerful. The sadness is caused in our life also because we are not accepting of this process, because the change that the light wants that it will happen in our life, it's really to help us and assist us to do it, to bring us into a place of happiness, of really happiness. So this is really what the energy of this week, the support that we are receiving this week, an experience that a person is going through. If we went through any sort of experience that I'm saying, I don't want to go through this process, or an experience when a person said, I don't love this process, but I know it can help me to change. Because if we understand that each one of us has a path, we have a path that it's like prepared for us in advance, that it will allow us to go through the process of our tikkun, from really deep understanding that all of it comes from the light, and it shows us signs. It shows a sign that we need to change, and we want to change. And a person needs to ask himself, do I really want to achieve a full happiness in my life, or just happiness, or any form of happiness in my life, and feeling complete and fulfilled? If the answer is yes, if your answer is yes, you need to start looking at the things that are going around you, things that you didn't plan that they will happen, but they do happen. But it's just to make sure that there's a sign. It's a sign for us to transform sadness into happiness. Maybe things that are come into our life and they're shown to be as a difficult, and instead of saying, well, the person is doing this to me, no, we want to understand that there's a message from the light, and it's the message of the light to increase our desire, and we understand that the light is there to help us. So when people are telling us, do this, or maybe criticizing us or whatever, we want to learn to appreciate that, and even to be happy about all of this, instead of saying, I wish it would have been just like disappeared from my life. And this is one of the great lessons that we started in this beginning of this second Pisces, because the first Pisces, from my perception, it was really about the work that we do between us and our environment and the people around us. And the second Pisces, because it's starting to go deep into our level of correction, we need to really look inside, and it's really internal. And internal means that we need to understand that every transformation we do impacting the rest of the world. If there's a chaos in the world, we need to look inside and to ask ourselves how we can transform the chaos that we have within to reach a level of much more peace and much more happiness. And this light that we will reveal from this transformation will impact the rest of the world. And it's very powerful. So we have the sequence of Aleph, Yud, Ayin, to help us to get out of the sadness, to transform our ways, to connect and with happiness, to increase the desire to connect with happiness. Because we understand that the secret of why we're going through this particular process in our life is really to understand that it's only to bring us into a place of completion and within ourselves. And this is one thing that I wanted to share about Aleph, Yud, Ayin. And within this week, we also going to connect with Chet, Bet, Vav. And Chet, Bet, Vav is it's a beautiful sequence that in our last session, when we spoke about this in Pisces 1, I shared with you that it's really one of the sequences that help us to connect with departed souls, right? To get the help and the support and and also to appreciate the souls that really being a role model for each one of us. Today I want to bring you another angle of Chet, Bet, Vav, by us looking into the place of in connection to our personal soul, and continuation to what I just shared, how we continuously connecting to our soul, because our soul has been connected to so many souls in previous lifetime, and that we just accumulation of all those experiences and attributes that we brought to this life. And we wanted to make sure that we're celebrating the power of our soul with Chet, Bet, Vav. So connecting to happiness, but also I want to share with you that together with Chet, Bet, Vav, I want you to take this week to celebrate your soul. To celebrate your soul. And sometimes I used to say in the past, fake it till you make it, about happiness. But no, don't fake it. Make sure that this week, in every given moment of this week, ask yourself, what makes me happy? What makes me happy? What will make my soul happy? You may not receive the answers right away, but you will. The soul always talking with us. We have an internal voice that always speaks with us, and we dismiss it. This week we want to get more of those messages. We want to hear more, and we want to get to a point where we actively making actions following our thoughts of happiness. So choose every day this week things that will make you happy. whether it's to drink carrot cake, whether it's to go for a hike, whether it's to do a certain meditation, whether it's to connect with your friend, whatever it might be that brings happiness into your life. Relax at nature and regroup, connect and refocus. Aleph Yud Ayin and Chet Bet Vav. This is the great support we receive in this week. Thank you for joining me, and as always, thank you for each one of you that emailing me your transformation as you use your 72 name and some questions that you have. And I encourage each one of you to continue email me and connect. Rachel.madar@kabbalah.com. Thank you.